Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is another video of War of the Ring, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want to rank the different cards in the game. There are a lot of cards, so I separated it to the Free People strategy cards. If you like this content, I will keep on and do it for the other cards. Obviously, it's not very easy to rank them because you have an active effect and a combat effect, and it really depends when you draw the card. So I try to somehow average it all to how happy I am to draw a certain card. And obviously, it's just my opinion, and I just thought it's a fun little thing to do. So I hope you enjoy it. And I decided to separate it into 5 tiers. I don't think they are like useless cards. So the worst one would be situational, mostly bad. Then we have situational good, generally good, strong, and amazing. And as you can see, I put a character, because we were ranking the Free People, I put a character from the Fellowship to represent each tier. Obviously, we have Samwise as in the amazing tier. These cards might not win the game by themselves, but they can carry you to victory. We have Aragorn in the strong. You always want Aragorn in your fight. He can turn things around. So these are the very, very strong cards. Legolas is generally good. You will always want him, but he won't do, something completely dramatic and out of the way. So I think this is why we put him here. Then Boromir for situational good. Boromir is a very skilled fighter, so these cards are good. But he's tempted by the ring, so you might not always want to use him. And lastly, we have Pippin, which has good intentions, but mostly causes more trouble than actually any good. So these are situational, mostly bad cards. So with that, let's begin. Okay, so the first card is a Power to Great. A Power to Great is a really great card, so it makes sense it has great in the title, and it advances the Elven nation 1 step on the political track. And when this card is in play, the Shadow cannot move an army or attack in either Lorien, Rivendell, or the Grey Havens. And the Shadow can discard this card by using a dice and discarding 2 cards, 1 character and 1 army. So we start with the heavy hitter, because the Power to Great in the early game might be, certainly I think the best card for the Free People, might be the best card in the game, I think. It's really strong. If you can cast it with a Palantir, you get to master the elves with a Palantir, which in itself is good. And then usually you can force to play it just before they attack Lorien, and then it becomes very awkward for the Shadow because they can't attack Lorien, and usually it helps you master an elite there. But even if the best case scenario does not work, it's still a great card. It takes a lot of time for this effect to be useless, because it takes time for the Shadow. The Shadow almost always goes to Lorien. I think it's the most common stronghold that is attacked. And it sometimes takes time to capture it, and sometimes they go for Rivendell, so it can be useful there. So it's very rare for it not to be useful, and even if it does not master, wasting a die and discarding 2 cards is absolutely great. So that's a very, very, very strong effect. And then we have No Quarter, which is an okay effect. There are better effects for the strategy cards, but it's still a pretty good effect if your combat rolls scores at least 1 hit, you score an additional 1. It usually resolves if you attack a bigger army. So it's a useful card. So regardless, even if you don't use the effect, I mean, it's not as good, but it's still a decent combat effect. So yeah, for me, this is definitely on the amazing tier. Maybe the best card. We'll see. Okay, so this is Power to Great. Oops. The next one is Book of Mazarbul. Book of Mazarbul moves any or all companions who are not in the Fellowship. Then, if a companion is in Erebor or Ered Luin, you activate the dwarves and put them directly at war. And the combat effect is advantageous position, which subtract 1 from all dice on the combat roll of the shadow player. But you can only play it if the defending army is inside the border of a free nation's people. So, Book of Mazarbul, again, the effect can be really strong, but it's much more situational than Power to Great. We'll talk later soon about Fear Fire Foes, which is the mirror image of it that activates the north. And I think activating the dwarfs is quite strong, especially if the shadow goes north. But the thing is, a lot of things needs to happen for it to actually work. So in order to activate it, you can obviously bring a companion to Erebor, which is not that trivial at the beginning of the game. The most common way it's being activated is when you bring Gandalf to Grey Havens and then move him to Ered Luin. But then you have to bring Gandalf in time before the shadow manages to really siege the north. So it can work. It's kind of situational. I think I would put it. If it works, it's really strong. And the army effect is not as is pretty good, but it can a lot of time do nothing, because usually play advantageous position against when the shadow player plays a strategy card, but there are strategy cards that boost the reroll value or have an after combat effect. So it's sometimes not that even good. So it's not the best effect. And it has this restriction. So I think Book of Mazarbul is a situational good. I would put it in situational good. Maybe generally good, because advantageous, it's on the verge between them, I would say. But let's put it now for situational good, Boromir tier. Okay, next is Celeborn's Galadhrim. You recruit an elf in Lorien, and then draw a strategy card, and the combat effect is Daylight, that the shadow players roll 3 dice in the combat roll. This is an amazing card. Because, as I said, because Lorien is positioned in the middle of the map, it's almost always being attacked. So this almost always has value. For the card itself, you draw a strategy card. That's great. And if Lorien is already captured, you get the best combat effect, which is Daylight. For the strategy cards, at least. So yeah, it's a simple, amazing card. It's in the amazing tier. It's not, I think, as strong as a Power to Great, but. I mean, it's debatable, I think, but if a Power to Great works as it should, then I think it's better. But yeah, it's up there at the amazing tier for sure. Okay. Next is, Círdan's ships. Okay, Círdan's ships. Play if the elves are at war, then you recruit 2 elven units in a coastal region containing a free people's army. And the combat effect is charge. So before the combat roll, you roll an additional attack using only the free people elites, up to 5. This card is really strong because it counters, or at least it doesn't even counter, but it helps against the most broken card in the game, which is Corsairs of Umbar. Because you can use Círdan's ships to master Dol Amroth, and it brings 2 elites to a sieged stronghold. That's very, very strong, and sometimes it's enough for Dol Amroth to actually stand after playing that. So just because of that, I think it's a very strong card, and I almost always like to see it. It usually takes a bit of time for this shadow to get there, so it's rare. It can happen that it's useless, right? Because if Dol Amroth is captured, but still you can find uses for it. Sometimes you can bring the elves to Pelargir to defend that. Sometimes you can bring them to Grey Havens to defend there. So it has versatility. It's not only for Dol Amroth, but yeah, I guess like 90% of the games it goes to Dol Amroth, but it's such a strong effect, so I think it's really, really strong. Problem is that charge sucks. That's a really bad combat effect. Even if you have like 3 elites, then you roll 3 dice. I mean, no quarter is much better, for example. So that's a shame in that sense, but still, just because how strong the effect is, and usually I would say it's in the Aragorn tier, maybe Legolas, but I think it's just a strong card. So I'm going to put it in the Aragorn tier, strong. All right. Next is Dain's Ironfoot's Guard. You recruit a dwarven regular elite and a leader in Erebor, and it has Valor, which adds 1 to all dice on your combat roll if there's an elite in the battle. It's a very strong card. Again, a lot of times the shadow will attack north, so the master here is very, very strong. It brings Erebor for 3 elites, 2 leaders, and 2 regulars. Makes it hard to capture. It can make the shadow player master and have to reinforce their attack up north. So that's a very, very strong effect, and usually is used for that. But Valor in itself is also great. So it brings you around 1 damage, and if you're lucky, more. It has the restriction that you have to have an elite, so you have that, but it's a good effect. So I think generally strong card, probably above Círdan's, I think. Next is Éomer. Okay, it's the same thing, but you recruit a Rohan unit and a leader in a free Rohan region containing a settlement, and again the combat effect is Valor. So it's also a very, very strong card, but it does have the bummer that you can't use it under siege. So if Rohan goes under siege, then it's not effective anymore. Again, Rohan you tend to have a few turns until Rohan becomes under siege, but I mean Helm's Deep. But that's a minus. So I think in the same sense, a very strong card, but not as strong as a Dain. So it's strong. Whoops. Okay, next is Faramir's Rangers. Choose a shadow army in Osgiliath, or South Sicilian or North Sicilian. Wow, I didn't know that it can actually target an army in Osgiliath. That's the first time I saw it. Okay, you roll 3 dice and score on 5+. Then, if there is a free people army in Osgiliath, you recruit one elite and a leader there. And the combat effect is shield wall. If the shadow hits more than one hit, you subtract 1. So if they hit 2, you get only 1 hit. 3, you get 2. But if you get 1, it's still 1. So I feel like shield wall is like the better version of advantageous position usually, because then if you're playing it against these strategy cards and you have, for example, onslaught or we come to kill effects that happen after combat, you still get the chance that they roll more than 1/6 and the shield wall has an effect. So I think it's one of the better effects, one of the better combat effects. Regarding the effect of the card, it can be very strong, but the problem is that if Shadow is going for Gondor, usually they'll go straight to Osgiliath on turn 2, maybe turn 1, probably turn 2, maybe turn 3. So you don't have a lot of time to actually draw it and use it, because the effect itself is very strong. If you can get the effect there, then you defend you defend Minas Tirith, and you hurt their army. That's very, very strong. I think I would put it, just because it has the shield wall, so it's always nice to use it as a card, as a generally good card. I mean, the effect itself is situational good, maybe even on the lower side, but the combat effect is good. It's always nice to have it. So I would say it's a generally good card. Legolas Deer. Oh, something happened to the guys. Let me fix that. There we go. Did I move it? Okay. Next is Fear Fire Foes. So Fear Fire Foes moves the companions, and if a companion is a Shire or Bree, you activate and put the North at war. And you get Shield Wall. So putting the North at war on paper is better, because you can muster much more units, but realistically, it's very hard to make it work, because Dale is one step closer to the shadow movement, and you really want to put the North to war, muster a guy in Dale, and then move him. And with Book of Mazarbul, you just need to muster once to make it worse. Just muster once in Erebor, you're set. You don't need to move them. So I think it's the weaker effect. By the way, I didn't speak about the fact that you can use. It's always nice that you can use these cards for a Palantir or a Master to move the companions around. So that's a nice little bonus. But I just think it's the worst effect, but it has a stronger combat effect, which is Shield Wall. So, I mean, I'll put it with Faramir's Rangers. It's weird, because the effect is weaker, but I guess both are kind of situational. So I would say generally good, just because the combat effect. So something I'm always happy to see. Okay. Next is Grimbeorn, the old son of Beorn. Hope I pronounced that right. You recruit one North elite and leader in Kerok. And then you have scouts. That scouts, before the combat roll, retreat your army to an adjacent free region or withdraw into a siege, which is amazing. So that's a very, very strong effect. You usually want to have at least one scout in your hands. It gives a lot of flexibility in the way you can play. In the early game, it can bring the guy from Old Forest Road to Woodland Realm. You can use it in Osgiliath, you can use it in Ford of Eisen, Iron Hills. It's a very strong card, just the scouts. As for the effect itself is strong. You bring a guy, a North guy, to Kerok, but again you bring him, and the leader, and you bring them, but then you kind of have to move them to Old Forest Road. And then you want a scout, but you already used one with this card. So there are only 2 more scouts. So usually this effect is not being used. It's a decent effect, but it's usually not something that is being used. So I would say a generally good card. Sometimes you don't have anything to do with the scouts. Usually you do. The effect a lot of time can be kind of useless. So I would say it's better than the other 2. So I would put it in generally good at the top. Here we go. Okay. Next is Guards of the Citadel. Guards of the Citadel, again, is a master card for Minas Tirith and has charge. So we talked about charge. I think charge is the weakest. Maybe Sudden Strike is the weakest. But it's one of the weakest effects for the strategy cards. It's good if the shadow attacks Gondor, but usually Gondor is not a target. The good thing is you can sometimes just play it with a Palantir, but I find that a lot of times that I just throw it. It's hard for me to put it at situational mostly, but I think it's situational good because, I mean, I would say in quarter of the games, Gondor is being attacked. But then again, Minas Tirith is the first target, so you need to draw that quite fast. So a lot of time you don't even get to use that, and then you have charge, which sucks. So yeah, I would put it at situational good, but below Book of Mazarbul. All right, and then we have Helped Unlooked For. I love this card, but it's not very good. Attack a shadow army besieging a stronghold with a free... It's so thematic and cool. And besieging a stronghold with a free people's army in an adjacent region. For this battle, the shadow player rolls 1 less dice for each free people unit in the besieged stronghold to a minimum of 1, and then you have no quarter, which we spoke about, which is completely nice effect. So the effect can be really strong, but you need a lot of things for it to be strong. First of all, you need a decent army that is in war adjacent to the stronghold. So where are you going to have that? Maybe when they attack Minas Tirith. I think that's the most likely case. Maybe if they attack Erebor and you come from Woodland Realm, maybe in Helm's Deep. It's quite rare. When I have it, I sometimes try to set it up, but still it's very hard because you also need your sieged stronghold not to be too weak. And there were sometimes that I just killed myself with it. You attack, and with 3 units, and then the Shadow Army was okay, let's play that, and they killed your 3 units without doing anything. Maybe these 3 units killed a few of theirs, but unfortunately, I mean, it can be very, very strong, but yeah, it's situational. I would say with the combat effect, it's situational good, but below Guards of the Citadel. Oops, again. Okay. Next is Imrahil of Dolomroth. You recruit a unit in Dolomroth, elite and leader, and you have Shield Wall. I mean, very good card. Not much to say. Again, Dolomroth is usually a target because of the stupid card that is Corsairs of Umbar. It usually is not enough for you to defend Dolomroth with this card. But if you don't have it, then the Shadow a lot of time can use Corsairs and just take it without even bringing any leaders. So and that's terrible. So it helps. It's a strong effect. It's almost always needed in all games. And again, you have Shield Wall on it, which is a great effect. So I would say it's a strong card. I would put it in the strong cards, but below Círdan's ships. Oh, and now that it all moved. Okay. Oh, no. Don't worry. I'm fixing it. Let's get Pippin ready, and Aragorn now in the middle. Great. Okay, next we have Kindred of Glorfindel. So Kindred of Glorfindel is like the worst version of Celeborn's. It has the advantageous position, which is a much worse card effect, combat effect, and then it recruits an elf in Rivendell, which can even be detrimental, because if you draw it the first turn, and the elven pool is small, so sometimes you don't even want to play it. I mean, I sometimes don't want to even play it, and maybe recruit one regular in Rivendell, because Rivendell is usually not a target in most games. But I guess it cycles the card, so and if they attack Rivendell, it can be very, very strong. So as a surprise, I would say it's situational good, but worse than the guards. Up. And again, I have to fix the guys. Okay. Next up is King Brand's Men. Recruit 2 North regular units in Dale, then draw 1 strategy event card, and it has Shield Wall. It's a really strong effect in the early game. If you get a guy to Old Forest Road, that masters the North. Usually, 3 people play with a master, so you can use the token to a master token. So you can use the token to master the North, and then you're just one from war, and they become a nuisance. Suddenly there's three units and an elite at your doorstep at near Woodland Realm. So if you can get that in time, it's a very strong effect. You also draw a strategy card, just a really good card with Shield Wall. I wouldn't say I wouldn't put it in the strong cards. I think the strong cards are better. But it's in the top of the generally good, I would say, in my opinion. And again, let's fix that. Okay. next is Path of the Roses. So play Frohan is at war, and you move a free people's army. Again, it's a very cool card, but really situational. You move them directly to Minas Tirith. If Minas Tirith is under siege, you move it to an adjacent location, but if they are all captured as well, then tough luck, and this doesn't work. And the ability is Sudden Strike. You roll combat roll according to the number of leadership you have. So Sudden Strike is usually useless unless you're going for military, and then it's very strong. So if you separating companions, and suddenly can roll for 4 or 5. I mean, not very strong, but it's a good card. You roll an additional roll. That's pretty good. You can get 2 hits a lot of times. 1-2 hits. So it becomes a pretty strong card. But usually it's completely useless, and the effect is usually completely useless. You need Rowan at war. You need them not to the shadow player not to put other units around it, and Minas Tirith to Gondor not to fall. Just, I mean, it can work and be very, very, very strong, but it's so rare that this is our first situational, mostly bad card. This is the Pippin tier. Sorry, Path. Then Riders of Theoden. Riders of Theoden, you recruit a Rohan in a Rohan elite and leader in Edoras, or with a region containing a companion. So that gives a lot of incentive to bring companions to Helm's Deep to use this card to master it. It's a very strong card in the early game before you move your units to Westemnet. And it has daylight on it. So that's an amazing effect. So I think it's on the same level of Eomer. Eomer, yeah, I would say it has a stronger combat effect. It has a stronger situational effect, but the general effect goes to Eomer. So I think I would put it just maybe after Círdan's. So it's around that level. It's a very strong card. Oops. Swords and Eriador. You recruit a North Elite in the Shire and a Dwarf in Ered Luin, then draw a strategy card and has advantageous position, which we talked about already. Let me fix Legolas. That's not nice. And you draw a card. I mean, it cycles a card. It's good when they try to take the Shire, so I kind of like it. For example, if I draw it in my opening hand and just play it, advantageous position is a passable effect. It's between generally good and situational good. I think I would put it in situational good, but it's out there. I'm always forgetting that. Okay, the last battle. You played if Aragorn is with a Free People army outside the Free People nation. While this card is in play, action dice used to move the fellowship are not added to the handbox, and you discard that card when the fellowship is declared or revealed. That effect is so bad. I don't know. I have never seen this card being used for its effect. It's just terrible because, I mean, it's a nice effect, but then you get revealed and it's gone. And the other thing is that it has daylight, which is the strongest combat effect. So So that alone brings it to be maybe a strong or generally good card, but this effect is completely useless. Like the active effect is maybe in contention for the worst in the game. I guess the shadow have one worse effect than that, but this is completely just terrible. I don't know how you use this effect. Okay, so now where do we put it? I want to put it in strong because you know daylight is it's daylight. It's just so strong. I will always want to have this card, and there's almost no chance that I'm discarding it in any situation just because of the daylight. But yeah, so let's put it there. Okay. The power of Tom Bombadil. So the power of Tom Bombadil is like a mirror image of a power to great. It advances the north, and then the shadow can't attack the old forest. It's not the old forest road, it's the old forest, the Shire or Buckland, and the shadow needs to discard the dice and 2 cards to discard it, and it has advantageous position on it. I mean, again, it can be strong if the shadow attacks the Shire, and as a surprise, a lot of time in the last turn, the shadow rushes to the Shire, and then you suddenly force them to discard cards and a dice. That can be useful. Advantageous position is passable. Advancing the north can be nice, but I mean, as a first action, it's a nice card. But again, just a weaker version of a power to great. When it works, it's great. When it does not, it's okay. So I think it's situational good. Next, the red arrow. The red arrow, you play if Gondor is active, and then you advance Rohan and recruit Rohan Elite and Leader in Edoras. And for the combat effect is Scouts, which we discussed is a strong effect that you really want. I would say that probably 80% of the times this is used for the Scouts, even though this effect is really strong. So you get a Muster and Elite and a Leader, but it has a problem because the fact that Gondor needs to be active, a lot of times you already moved your guys to Westemnet when you draw this, and then it's kind of awkward to put the units in Edoras. So, and generally in the early game you kind of use it for scouts. It's definitely better than Grimbeorn, the old. But I'm not sure if it's enough for it to be in the strong tier. I would say generally good. Maybe it's on the strong, but I think generally good. And only my opinion matters in this video, I guess. Okay, so we're almost there. So the next one is Spirit of Mordor. Again, the combat is Scouts, and the effect is you choose a Shadow army on the board that consists of at least 2 different Shadow nations, and then you roll 5 dice and score on 5+. Also, a really strong effect that can get you like around 2 hits. Sometimes it can really make the difference, and you know how this game works. Sometimes you just get 5 hits or 0, and if you get like 4 or 5 hits, it can really change the dynamic of the game. But again, it's mostly like 80%, if not or more of the times, it's Scouts, and then the other times it's the Spirit of Mordor. It should be next to the red arrow. Which one is stronger? Probably the red arrow is a bit stronger and more consistent. So yeah, let's put it there. All right. Next is Thranduil's Archers. You recruit an elven unit in Woodland Realm and then draw a strategy card. So that's somewhere in the middle. A lot of times Woodland Realm is getting attacked. The thing is, sometimes it's getting attacked from Dol Guldur with a relatively small army of 7 total power. So because Woodland Realm also only has 3 power, so if you get it then, and it brings Woodland Realm to 5 because of the extra elite, it's actually very, very strong. It's not as strong as Celeborn's, in my opinion. Valor is obviously not as good as Daylight. So yeah, I would say it's somewhere between these two. I tend to think it's a strong card. Usually I'm happy to see it. Even if they're not attacking the north, it's always a threat because this stronghold is so weak. So I think it's in the strong tier. I really hope the layout won't die because of this. Let's hope. Where do we put it? Better than last battle. Somewhere here. Yeah, that looks fine. Oh no! What am I going to do? Maybe just something like that. Yes. Okay. So now it's a little bit smaller, and let's get our guys here. We can even have a bigger pictures of them, which is nice. Aragorn. Perfect. Okay, we're almost done. We have 3 more. Through a day and a night. Okay. Play on a free people's army containing a companion, and then you can move the army 2 regions instead of 1. And the effect here is confusion. The combat effect, every unmodified die of a 1 results in a self-inflict of damage by the shadow. So the card effect for free people military attempts is just a staple. It's a great card. It turns a Palantir to be able to move 2 times. The shadow player always have to play around it. So it's just I love this card. I love that this card exists, and without it, free people military attempts would be much weaker. So in that sense, it's definitely a really good effect, but kind of situational because most of the games don't go to that. And confusion is a great effect. Usually it buys you, like, on average, almost 1 hit, but if it does, it also doesn't allow the shadow to roll the reroll, and sometimes you just roll 3 ones and it's getting, like, it's terrible for shadow. Suddenly plans change, and you can use it when shadow attacks a small army, so you don't really the other cards are a lot, like all of the cards, I think, maybe besides scouts, need you to have an army, and here you can just use it. So that's also useful. So that's a really good combat effect, combined with a cool, very strong situational effect. I think it's a generally good card. And again, it will probably screw with our layout, but we'll manage. We have 1 more card after that. Let's get it a bit smaller. Even smaller. I guess. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about this. Okay, and lastly we have Wisdom of Elrond, which activates one free people's nation and advances it in the political track, and again confusion, which we just talked about. Advancing a nation with a Palantir can be actually strong. Activating a nation, people I heard say that it's strong. I never saw how it helps me. A lot of time I use it just as a Palantir, as a surprise Palantir that is used as a master to master the elves, sometimes the north. I guess if someone is preparing an attack on Gondor, you can use it to activate Gondor, but I never had the chance to do it. Confusion is, again, a great combat effect, so it's also goes to the generally good. Probably above through a day and a night, below the scouts. Okay, so we have that done. That was fun, I think. Not a lot of completely terrible cards, and I think there's quite a nice spread on the strategy cards for the free people, and I feel that's true. Most of the strategy cards are kind of good. Usually, unless I'm in a corruption trouble, I would tend to draw these in the early game because a lot of them can really improve your situation. And yeah, let me know what you think, where I got it wrong, why I should have chosen different people from the fellowship, or why my ranking is completely off. And I hope you enjoyed it. And next time I will bring a game. And if you enjoyed it, let me know, and I will continue it for the other cards. Thank you for watching. I'm out. Have a great day.